Programming bench press accessories. Now, yesterday I made a video on how to program your bench press, and the day before that I made a video on my #1 key tip with lifting, bench press, whatever, how to blow up your bench. Simple. Now, if you haven't watched those past two videos, I recommend you do that. It may help you understand this video better. Before we jump into this video, my name is Blake Wendt, and I have benched 500 pounds naturally at 17. I currently have 5 world records and 3 national championships by age and weight class. Now, when programming bench press accessories, it's super important to understand that this is different for everybody, right? And now I would recommend that you watch this whole entire video in length. Do not skip through, because you're going to have to understand some things for other things to make more sense, if you understand what I'm saying. Because bench press is the only lift where I really feel it is perceived as super simple, but it's actually way more complex, right? When you're squatting, people think it's like, squatting, like, it's pretty simple, but when you're squatting with a lot of weight, you gotta walk it back. You gotta do the squat, this and that. When you're deadlifting, it's just picking it up, but you gotta set your feet, you gotta set your hands, you gotta set your arms, everything. A lot of people think that bench press is just the most simple lift, right? It's the least technical, when that's entirely not correct. The bench press, I go to the gym, and the #1 thing that I see at the gym is people benching with their wrists like this, pressing into the bar with their wrists like this. Simple. That is the #1 thing that I see people doing wrong when they're benching. When I see people squatting, I might see them squatting a little bit high, but they're still getting something out of the movement. When I see people deadlifting, their back may be a little bit rounded, but they're still getting something out of the movement. Honestly, if you bench with your wrists like this, you're really not getting anything out of that movement. But now that yaps aside, and just my personal opinion on the bench presses aside, it's important to understand that you need to build every single muscle in your body for your bench press to grow. The bench press is a full body movement. I don't care what anybody has told you, the bench press is a full body movement. If you can bench as much, so Larson press, right? That's no legs involved. You put your legs up in the air for that and you hit a bench press. If you can bench as much as you can Larson as you can regularly, your bench press is failing in some aspect. Simple. I'm sorry. I don't care if you bench more than me and you can bench press more Larson than you can with your feet down. You may have the potential to bench 800 pounds. If you could bench 700 pounds Larson and 700 pounds regular, you probably have the potential to bench 800 pounds. You're just not maximizing leg drive. Now, what I mean by the bench press is a full body exercise. When you're bench pressing, just about every muscle is tensed when you just exit the hole, right? So when you hit that groove and you start pressing up, just about every single muscle should be tensing in your whole entire body. Now that's crazy to think, because we have over like 100 billion muscle fibers, right? I'm no doctor, no nothing crazy like that, but that's a lot to think about, right? We got like a lot of muscle fibers inside of our body, and just about like all muscle groups have some sort of muscle flexing when we're pressing out. So when we're programming accessories, it's important to understand that we need to program into accessories that help all of those muscles, help all muscle groups grow. That we're not skipping leg day because we're trying to get a bigger bench, right? And a lot of people think like, okay, well, if I just quit doing everything, I just focus on just bench, I'm going to get a bigger bench. While that is true, if all you did is bench, you will get a bigger bench. But if you continue to do a little bit of leg movement, your legs may actually drive harder into the pad, giving you more explosion, which is just crazy to think about. You're doing squats may help your bench press. That's just mind-blowing to me, especially when I first learned that, because I never would have thought doing legs can help you bench press, right? And so this is something to take into consideration when you're going to do your big bench press lifts, right? If you had hit legs the day before you're bench pressing, you may actually experience some less leg drive, right? And so what does this all have to do with accessories, right? So programming accessories is not just chest and triceps for the bench press. It's programming your legs. If you know that you have a PR bench press tomorrow, you're not going to program your legs to failure. If you get up in the morning and you can hardly walk, how do you expect to leg drive on the bench press? You just probably won't. If you can, it's going to be very minimal, and you may actually notice a significant decrease in strength. Now that is like that's super out there, if you're taking your legs to where you can't walk tomorrow. But it's important to realize like, hey, if I'm doing this max out bench press tomorrow, maybe I should take it easy on my legs. If I'm a big leg driver, maybe I should take it a little bit easy on the legs. Maybe cut out a set or two. And I'm not the big advocate for take shortcuts when you can, but that's take shortcut when you have to. You know what I'm saying? Like, do less to help yourself do more in that case. And I find that huge with back accessories. A lot of people, deadlift before you bench, which I find no problem with that. But if you're doing deadlift and then you're going into Tom Platt style 20 set back workout and you're benching the next day, well, you can expect to be benching with a pretty flat chest. You see what I'm saying? Because the back is also a huge one that is kept into your bench press. But the good thing with the bench press also is bench press you're able to do a lot of. You're able to do it a lot of times a week. Me personally, I recommend 2 to 3, maybe 4 times a week bench pressing. Maybe 4 times. I find a lot of people's joints get sore and hurt after benching 4 times a week. I'd recommend 2 to 3 times a week. You experiment with your body. You figure out what works with you. If you can only bench 1 time a week, it's not my favorite thing, but then you can only bench 1 time a week. If you can't go 2 days a week and progress, go 3 times a week. You can't do 3 and progress, go 4. Just not my personal, but figure out what works best for you. That's simple. Figure out what works best for you. I'm going to drill that home. Now, when we're programming accessories for bench press, we're going to look on the big picture, right? If I'm trying to grow my deadlift and I'm deadlifting one day and then I have to do bench the next day, I'm not going to just not do any back at all, right? Let's say you're going into your secondary bench day. This is not a max, this is not a PR. This is like what I said in videos before. This is maybe like a week 2 or a week 1. You do want to do back and you do want to hit back hard. Now, while back is important for the bench press, it's not everything. But when you're going for like a max effort attempt or something where you're going to have to be giving it that max effort and every pound or every just inch is an advantage, then is when I say you start taking the shortcut. But if you're doing back before secondary bench day, big deal. You may be able to get away with that. But now let's just take a look at smart programming accessories when we're talking about bench press. So typically, for me, after I do a bench press day, I'm going to do chest, triceps, shoulders, maybe some biceps if I'm in it. You see what I'm saying? So when you're bench pressing, though, it's important to realize that it's not just chest and triceps that pushing this weight up. Your shoulders are stabilizing you, right? You need strong shoulders. Your back is holding you on this pad. You need a strong back. And believe it or not, the beach builder, the look good for the girl guy muscle, this bicep actually plays a role in your bench press, because when you're going down, you're flexing that bicep in a way that you may not exactly realize, but you are flexing that bicep on the way down. So it's important that you're working every single muscle group to grow this bench press. Like I said before, all body movement. So when we're talking about bench press, typically for me, on my primary bench day, I'm going to do probably 3 sets of chest after just doing some sort of chest accessory. That's not including the bench press. I don't always do that bench or that 3 sets of chest, because the chest has worked a lot in the bench press. You could build a massive chest. I feel like my chest is bigger than anything else on my body just from doing bench press. I rarely even train chest. So if I'm doing that, I'm going to do 3 sets of chest. If I'm doing triceps, I'm going to do 6 to 9 sets of triceps. If I'm doing shoulders, I'm probably going to do 6 sets shoulders as well, right? And now we're looking on secondary days. If I don't have a big lift for another lift coming up, or I got a rest day the day after, I may push all of those a little bit harder. For shoulders, I think it's super important that you hit all heads of the shoulder. There's this front delt, this side, you got your rear delt, right? All of them play different in the bench press. When you're really coming down, you're just focusing on pushing up, you're going to see a lot of front delt. When you're focused on back tightness, staying true to the pad, you're focusing on that rear delt. Now, there's no secret movement that's going to build you a huge shoulder, right? You go online, you look up all these shoulder exercises, activities, whatever. You pick what works for you. That's simple, right? You pick one for each side of the shoulder, and I recommend you do that. Triceps, there's 2 parts, right? There's here and there's here. oh dang, my triceps look a little small today. Maybe I should have hit them harder. But seriously, there's two sides, here, right? You look up, you find ones that help for each of that. You know, close grip bench, there's regular tricep push down, rope push down, flat bar push down, whatever. You find those accessories. You push some harder on some days than you do on the other. You build all the heads. The chest really, I mean, you could do like incline, you could do flat. I feel that the chest just gets pumped overall from everything. Bicep curls, bicep too. Head like peak, flat part under it. I don't know. I don't know the super specific terms, but there's two parts, right? Just look everything up and hit all parts, you know, because you don't want to just spam lateral raises and you'll be like, why is my bench press not going up? Well, because you are neglecting your rear and your front and your rear delt. You see what I'm saying? So it's important to hit all heads of everything, your peak and the peaks of your biceps, the insides of your biceps, this part of your tricep, inside part of your tricep, whatever, right? You want to hit all of everything. Now, I'd recommend try to stay away. I know a lot of people say that they do arm day. If you're doing an arm day, I would try to do that arm day on bench day, right? And I know that that's not the most bodybuilding specific thing. That may not help you hit your goals great in bodybuilding, but you have to understand if you're trying to build a huge bench press, it's not going to benefit you to do all these sets of triceps and then try to bench the day after, right? Because that is a main muscle. The triceps, I would say, is the number one muscle in the bench press. I'd say triceps, once you get more elite, is plays more of a role than chest does, because always my triceps failing, and all the other big lifters that I see, it's always their triceps failing too. You see what I'm saying? Maybe in the beginning you need some more chest strength, I don't know, but for most people, most advanced lifters, I say it's almost always the triceps. So it's just not the smartest idea to program your accessories to the point where you're doing triceps, biceps all out, and then the next day you're doing bench press, right? And this is what I just mean, be mindly of your body. So this is the same thing. If you're doing shoulders and you're just cranking out rear delts, like you're going crazy, and you have a big squat the next day, well, let's think. You know, where's the bar going to rest? The bar rests on your rear delt if you're squatting low bar, even if you're squatting high bar for the most part. It rests on your rear delt. So maybe let's take that a little bit easier. Let's keep in mind our future lifts. Let's keep in mind what the most important thing is to focus on before we program our accessories. So once we get all that out of the way, we get like a good schedule now. Good schedule, for example, bench Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Squat Tuesday, Saturday, deadlift Thursday. Boom. That's something, that was what I was running for the longest time. 6 days a week. If you're built for it, oh well. If you're not, oh well. But seriously, let's say you're just running something like that. So on Monday, right before you have to squat, I may not hammer my rear delts, but I know I can hammer my triceps and my chest pretty good, because maybe that doesn't affect how I can hold that bar, right? But now on Wednesday, when I'm going into deads, I really also want to avoid this rear delt, because that may help hurt my lockout, that may hinder stuff like that. So I'm gonna take it easy that day. But now, after deads that day, I know that on Friday it's like my third bench day, right? So that bench day doesn't matter that much. Then I might actually crush the rear delts, because I can get away with having some sore rear delts going into my third bench day, because it just doesn't matter that much. You know, it's not my Monday, whatever. But let's say you got this huge squat on Saturday. What muscles can you do to avoid that? Maybe you don't want to crush biceps, right? And on like the Wednesday before you deadlift, you may not want to go crazy on the bicep curls before you go and pull as hard as you can. Now, tearing biceps, stuff like that, that's really like an untested thing. A lot of people that are on steroids, I see that happen to the naturals. But it is something to keep in mind, right? You don't want to pull a bicep. Now, even if you don't tear it off the bone, you could pull your bicep. You could strain your bicep, right? So let's not work muscles that we're going to work 2 days in a row. And that's just really the key thing I'm just going to try to hit home throughout this video. Let's not hit muscles that we're going to be working the next day. So it's important that you get a hold of your days, right? So even hitting any shoulders for me, like at all, I find that can hinder my squat. Even hitting like just after squat, even if I go like crazy on the legs. Like if I'm squatting on Saturday, right, I get my Sunday off, I should be good by Monday. But if I go crazy on Tuesday on the legs, like I go all out on the legs, and like my primary bench day is Wednesday, I can expect to probably not have such a great bench day. So this is what I'm talking about on how to program. You just be mindful of your accessories, how to program accessories, not just what's the best accessories, but how to program it. It's being mindful of everything else, because it's like pieces in the puzzle. It more isn't always better, and I've learned that such a hard way, and all through my powerlifting. Every single day used to be for me in the gym, go in, hit that assigned muscle group as hard as possible, and do it. Just do it. Just all out, full send, nonstop. And I started to realize, like, I'm going into this deadlift and I can't lock out because my rear delts are so sore that I literally can't twist my shoulder back like this. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's just certain things that will hinder your progress, right? And now another one is back to bench. You know, if you're going crazy on Thursday, and like even if it's only your secondary day, if you're going crazy on back and then you go to bench, you may feel it a little bit. So you have to understand, like, okay, I may hit the accessories harder on the lighter weeks, on the earlier weeks, and then I'll hit them harder then, and then I'll ease up as the weeks get to like my PRs, my heavier lifts, the lifts that matter more, right? So you can focus really hard on them in the beginning when you don't require every single muscle fiber in your body for that lift. But once you get to those lighter weeks, okay, you may be able to drop 3 sets of your shoulder raises. You know what I'm saying? You may be able to go a little bit lighter because you're more focused on the main lifts. And I think that is a big definition of what power building is. You're focused on the building for 2 weeks, building, but then the last 2 weeks you're really focused on that power. I don't care as much about the building part, the bodybuilding part. I care more about that power. I'm doing what I can to get as much power as I can. And so I'm just real quick just going to give some examples of like one day. I'm just going to give you guys one day of how that looks for me, right? Now, I can't give you guys everything in this video. I said this before because I do coach people. If you're interested, emails in the description. Send me an email. Hey, man, I'm interested, whatever. $50 a month is currently what I charge. Can't give you guys everything, but I can give you guys an example, right? And if you want to find out a whole lot more, go ahead, hit me up down there. I won't spam this too much, but just quick plug. So here's one day, Brie sauce, one day that it looks like for me. So I'll give you guys my secondary bench day, right? So I'm gonna hit something, right? Let's call it a 2x4. I'm making this up. I'm not saying do this, but so like let's say I'm gonna hit my 2x4, and then after I get like a 2x6, right? Just made that up off the top of my head. I'm not saying I programmed that. I'm not saying I wouldn't. When I get to these accessories, I'm like, all right, it's my secondary chest day. My chest feels pretty worked and pretty pumped today. I'm gonna skip chest today because I just don't feel like I need it. I feel like I got a good chest bump. I don't need it. Boom, perfectly fine. That's okay. You can't get into the mindset all the time of like, man, I didn't do chest today. This kid that I stare at on TikTok is getting better than me. And he's like, no, like if you feel like you did good, don't overwork yourself. You still have a third bench day. If you have a third bench day, you see what I'm saying? Like, okay, so my chest, I don't need to work it today. I'm going to jump straight into shoulders because I know that some movements like overhead press may work a little bit on my triceps. So I'm going to save my triceps for last. Shoulders for me, all right, it looks like I'm like a light squat tomorrow, right? Light squat tomorrow. I could go pretty hard on the shoulders today. I'm gonna do like a 3x12 on like a laying shoulder press or some sort of shoulder pushing. I'll probably do like a 3x12 with like some lateral raises, and then you just grab like anything that works the rear delts. I'll probably do like a 3x8 with it, right? And so then I'm like, all right, I push the shoulders pretty hard. Now I'm gonna hit the triceps, and the triceps, my triceps pretty like weak today, so I want to really push them hard. So I hip on the triceps. I maybe do like 3 sets with the rope, 3 sets with the flat, and then 3 sets on like any machine that's for triceps. That's something that I would do. So now we're like 9 sets in shoulders, 9 sets in triceps. So I did a lot. You know what I'm saying? This will be a bigger day for me. But I'm still feeling like that competition's getting better and I'm not. So while I think that competition's getting better and I'm not, I'm gonna go hit three sets of bicep curls, right? Because I got light squats tomorrow that shouldn't really hinder how I can hold the bar. maybe I'll do 3 sets like this, right? But I'm gonna keep in mind that these 3 sets I did like this worked the inside. I haven't worked the peak of my bicep this week. So I'm gonna keep that in mind. I might write that down. If I'm typing my program on Google Sheets, I'm gonna write in Google Sheets, I'm gonna say worked lower part of bicep today. Worked, you know, worked harder on this part of on this side of my tricep than this side of my tricep today. Worked harder on the front delt than any other delt today. I'm just gonna write that down so I can keep that in mind. So when I go back for another day, I could look at like, oh, today's my day to do biceps, right? With deadlifts. Like after you do deadlifts, like, all right, I'm doing biceps again today. Okay, I really hit the underside of my biceps, so now I'm gonna hit a lot on the peak, and then I'm gonna just write that down. Tracking your information is super, super helpful. And I'm gonna make a whole nother video on this, on why you need to track everything else. If you didn't know, I'll be going to college. It's super random. I'll go to college tomorrow, so the background may change a little bit. Might be a little bit different. Still gonna crank out videos, don't even worry. But I'm gonna make a whole different video on what it means to write stuff down and why that is important. So I'm just saying, write everything that you're doing down, especially if you're new to this and you're trying something new. Write it down so you can see if it works, because that is another way that you can learn your body, is just writing it down. Boom. I could tell you that, and somebody watching this video could go help their bench 50 pounds because they write down everything and they're like, okay, so this worked, this didn't, this worked, this didn't, and you just apply it and boom, you see this progress going up, right? So when you do stuff like this, if you do these accessories for like 4 weeks, I'd recommend, so you wrote it all down, and then, or you just kept it in your head. Like for me, a lot of times I don't really write stuff down because I'm pretty good at like remembering. And like if I do write stuff down, it'll just be at the end of the week, right? Just like small notes. But at the end of this 4 weeks, you go back and you look like, all right, so this block, I trained really hard on my front delt, and I noticed a huge bench press increase. Like I said in my number one tip, don't change if it works, don't change it. So next block, I'm going to try to hammer the front delt again. I'm going to keep doing that. So this is why I also recommend go back, watch those videos before you watch this one, right? The if it works, don't change it type thing. So you can apply that to doing accessories as well. So like, man, I hammered the front head of my delt right here, and it blew up my bench press. I'm gonna do the next block, and blew it up, and blew it up, and blew it up. And then eventually you're like, all right, it didn't blow it up that much anymore. Now I'm gonna put more focus on the rear delt. You see what I'm saying? Just stuff like that. Go ahead, watch that video. Trust me, you won't regret it. And then you could do that with all your other body parts, right? So like on back, it's important to realize pulling something like this and pulling something like this is gonna work a whole different part of your back, right? So you say, I really focus on the like the wide grip pull downs, or I really focus on like the close grip squeeze, like where the seated row, pretty much, I think that's called. Say that you focus on either one of those and it help your bench stability. You see what I'm saying? Like, look for small wins on your bench. Maybe your strength didn't super increase 1 block, but your stability did. That's something to write down, and that's something that like I would recommend writing down. It's something that I have written down. I literally have notes in my phone, like just for squat, on example. I used to write, squatting with closer feet helps me get out of the hole. I got a note somewhere that I could find that and show people. Squatting with closer feet helps me out of the hole. Me personally, boom, I don't know if that's going to work for you, but if you can get great bench stability doing like seated rows, write that down. You see what I'm saying? Because then when you go to do the bench press, you can focus on the other part and continue doing that, and your bench press stability will go up, and your bench is going to be going up, and that may cause a freaking, if anybody watches stocks, if you ever watch the bar patterns, right, it'll tickle, 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 and then sometimes it'll just jump. It may jump one way or the other, but you're looking for that jump up. And so if you do things like writing down, if doing like seated row, that helps your lower back, and you do something like write that down, and now you can focus on your triceps, front of your shoulder, your chest, everything else, and you find something that works for these. Now you have 2 working components, right? So you have something that's blowing up your triceps, and you have something that's stabilizing your back. These 2 may make your bench go tickle, 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 and jump up, just like that. Just jump up like that. So I don't want to take this video too long, and I'm really trying to just put good information out there, but it's just important to realize, like, for me to talk about topics such as accessories, the reason I can just go on and on and on, it's because it's just so much to break down. It is like, it's very complicated stuff. It's not as simple as just lay down and bench. You know, when I was benching like 315, my back was like this, and I just benched like this. I figured out how to tuck my lats, and I started doing my own research, watching videos like this. I wish I found my YouTube channel when I was coming up, because I would just sit down and watch videos like this all the time of people that were weaker than I am now, tell me like meh information and really gatekeep half of it. I'm trying to give you guys the best information possible without giving too much, so my clients don't feel like I'm ripping them off too, you know what I'm saying? But I'm trying to give you guys as much information as possible that you can find on YouTube, right? So like, you could find this advice somewhere else on YouTube, but it may take like 10 videos to get there. My goal is, okay, boom, we're like 25 minutes into this video right now, but my goal is to give you the most information in this 25 minutes, so you don't have to do what I did and watch 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, and you have to watch the same BS intros, everything else. So I'd rather just pour this information out, save you guys some time, and hopefully you can just take this in. If watching one of my videos is somewhat hard for you, I'd recommend pull out a notepad and just write down the key points. You know what I'm saying? This is like, I hate to sound like a teacher, like a lecturer, you know what I'm saying? But I really do think that I'm giving some free sauce here, and I think that I'm helping people out. You know, judging from some comments, like I've read, please help with accessories. Boom, I'm coming with this accessory video. If you got anything that you want to see, go ahead, leave a comment below. But hopefully after this video, you understand that doing accessories is not just to blow up your bench press. Doing accessories is to planning accessories, programming accessories, learning from your accessories, going back and looking at what you've done, finding process, finding things that have worked, finding things that haven't worked. And I wish I could go back and tell myself, this was like the number one key advice that I never found when I was on my come up, was go back and look at what worked. I used to always try something new, and boom, something that I used to do that helped me so much would just be gone, right? Because I never went back and I just looked at those key things that worked. So go back, look at what worked, look at your accessories, boom, just grow on it, build a mountain of information. Just keep stacking the information. Don't do one thing, forget about it. You know, if you do shoulders super hard one day and your bench is terrible, put that on your information. Don't just stack that and watch it slip away. Stack that and stack more on it. Keep growing your mind. The best thing that you can do for your bench press is to just increase your knowledge overall. Period. Simple. End of discussion. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you guys learned something. If you did enjoy it, please go ahead and let me know in the comments down below. You know, I will continue to pour out everything that I freaking know on here as much as I possibly can, and still charge people for that little bit extra bit. So yeah, man, just go ahead, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you want to see next. And there's BlakeWendt signing out. Until next time, peace.